Welcome to Vacuum Wars and to our big showdown between the three Braava mopping robots from iRobot. We've done individual in-depth tests and reviews of each of these robots, which I'll link in the description. This video will go over all those results and pick a winner and really explain the differences between all three, because as we'll see, the decision as to which one of these is the best kind of comes down to how you plan on using them. So links in the description, and let's get started. First, let's go through the contestants. We have the Braava 240, which is the budget version, the 380T, which is a little bit more expensive, and the top of the line model, the M6. They all are mopping robots only, meaning that they're not meant to be used to vacuum the floors, though all of them do have a dry or dusting mode where they will dust the floor with an included dry pad, but if there's any large debris, it's just going to push them out of the way. So the dusting mode is honestly only so useful. That being said, we found that the Braavas do a really good job at mopping floors, much better than the robot vacuum / mops that are out there, and we're going to see why that is later on. There are quite a lot of differences between these three models, though I think the best way to show this is to start talking about them one by one, starting with the budget model, the 240. The 240, iRobot's cheapest Braava, operates by filling an internal tank with up to 0.15 liters of water. You then attach one of the included disposable mopping pads, which are designated as dry, damp, or wet. The little card on the back of the pad is read by the robot, and it automatically adjusts the water spray amount depending on which pad was inserted. iRobot offers proprietary washable, reusable pads which are sold separately. It mops by spraying a little bit of water in front of the unit and then making an odd sort of back and forth Y-shaped path to clean the area, though in dry mode its path is basically straight back and forth lines. In our various mopping tests, where we use all kinds of material from wet spills to dried on grape and vegetable juice, I found that the Braava Jet 240 was incredibly good. I test a lot of robot vacuum mop combos, and none of those come close to the mopping power of the 240. It just gets tougher stains and gets them in fewer passes than any non-Braava I've personally tested. I should also mention that the 240 is also unique among Braavas, since it's the only one to have a vibrating mop head to further loosen stuck-on debris. The Braava Jet 240 has a surprisingly sophisticated navigational algorithm. To make the best use of it, you place it on the left side of a small to medium-sized room, and it will find its way to cover the entire area while navigating around obstacles. And it did pretty good with this in our tests. iRobot says the 240 can cover 150 square feet in mopping mode and about 350 square feet in dusting mode. The 240, like all Braavas, has sensors that prevent it from going on carpets and rugs, which I found to be really fantastic. Even our very flimsy bathroom mat was avoided, which was one of my concerns. You can also prevent it from going past a certain area with the so-called virtual wall mode, where you basically hold down the button until you see this blue line, which means that it won't go past that invisible line which is behind its starting point, which is pretty clever. The 240 usually comes with one battery, which is removable, and it's also easy to find replacements for or extras online, which I really liked. iRobot claims that it can get 180 minutes on a single charge, which is a pretty good amount, but it should be weighed against the fact that it takes these mopping bots longer to cover an area in mopping mode. For example, it took almost 60 minutes to clear our test room, which is about double what it would take a typical robot vacuum. The next model is the 380T, which is technically the middle tier option in terms of price, but was actually released before the 240 was. In any case, the main niche that the 380T fills in the Braava lineup is its ability to clean larger areas than the 240. It can do this because it has a touch more battery life than the 240, but the downside is that the battery on the 380T is internal, and so to recharge it you have to put it on its charging dock manually, which is a little more inconvenient, but not really a big deal. They included something they called the navigation cube with the 380T, which you place in the middle of the area that you want it to clean, and it will act as a kind of radio beacon to allow the bot to systematically clean larger areas. According to their specs, this allows for an extra 50 square feet of coverage over the 240 in mopping mode, but it does look like you could buy more navigation cubes and kind of overlap them to cover even larger areas. And it should be said that the 380T also seems to have the same basic default navigational algorithm as the 240. So if you didn't have the cube, you could just set it down on the left side of the room and it would more or less operate exactly as the 240 did. The other main difference between the 380T and the others is that instead of using a sprayer that shoots water in front of its mopping path, they used a detachable mopping plate that has a water reservoir on top where the water just soaks into the pad at a fixed rate. I actually had to test this twice because I'm a moron and I didn't read the instructions carefully, but after doing that, I actually found this fixed fixed-rate soaked pad method to be quite effective as long as the pad was sufficiently saturated with water. It picked up the very difficult to get dried vegetable juice stains in just one pass, just like the 240. Basically, it was about the same as the 240, but it was crucial to get that pad entirely saturated. One advantage with the 380T over the others is that since there is no sprayer, there's no spray adjustment system that's connected to the type of pads that you use. So you can pretty much use any kind of microfiber material as long as it's cut in a similar fashion to the included pads. In other words, the 380T has the biggest upside with regard to operational costs since you don't have to use proprietary iRobot products. The final contestant, the Braava Jet M6, is the newest and most advanced Braava yet, and for it, iRobot went back to the tried and true water spray method. In this case, the water tank is removable, but it's the same basic idea where you fill it up and attach either a dry or a wet pad, which can be either disposable or reusable, but in any case, it will detect the mopping mode automatically. However, in this case, you can actually use the app to further dial in the amount of water you want it to spray and a few other options. It does clean a bit differently than the others in that it no longer has a Y-shaped pattern, but it's more just straight back and forth, even in mopping mode, and it no longer has that vibrating head like on the 240. But the net result is a very similar cleaning ability to the 240. In other words, it's really good. And it's kind of hard to say which was better, but it was the same basic top-tier mopping ability that as far as I have seen is the best you can get with a mopping robot. But the real difference between the M6 and the other Braavas is its navigational features. The M6 is the first pure mopping robot that has a camera which it uses to map out your house and clean systematically room by room while giving you the full suite of app options from iRobot's Imprint smart mapping technology, things like keep out zones where you draw little boxes on the map in the app to keep it out of places you don't want it to go. It also has room select where you can tell it to clean this room and not that room, which is actually going to be important later on. You can also use it in tandem with any Roomba that has imprint mapping, like the i7 or S9 regular robot vacuums. Basically, you can tell those regular robots to start cleaning, and when they finish, they will send a signal to the M6 to start its mopping job. The main point, though, is that the other Braavas are bots that you really need to be involved with. You need to physically bring them into the room that you want it to clean, and neither the 240 or the 380 will come anywhere close to systematically cleaning your entire home, let alone giving you the option to tell it which rooms to clean and which ones not to. The other advantage is that the M6 automatically returns to the dock to recharge itself, and because it's a smart navigation robot, it has a feature called recharge and resume, meaning that if it does run low on battery, it will return to the base to recharge and then resume cleaning when it's charged up exactly on the place on its map that it left off. So battery life is a lot less of an issue with the M6. Some of the downsides to the M6 really apply to all the Braavas, but are more noticeable with the M6. For example, all Braavas are pretty bad at crossing over even very low floor transitions. This is because they are programmed not to go over carpets and rugs, and even minor floor transitions seem like a carpet or rug to them. This isn't usually a complaint with the other two cheaper Braavas, since people don't really expect those to clean the entire house where they would encounter lots of transitions and other obstacles. But with the M6, people notice it a lot because they expect it to be able to navigate the entire house, transitions and all, and it quite simply won't cross significant transitions. Similarly, in my opinion, all of the Braavas are great to a point, and that point is where their mopping pad gets too dirty, because after that, it's just going to leave streaks. Don't get me wrong, it won't leave streaks up to a point, but once that mopping pad gets dirty enough, you will need to change the pad to avoid streaks, which sometimes show up as tire marks. Again, this is an issue with the M6 precisely because the idea is for the M6 to be able to clean the entire house, but in most cases, that means it will have a pretty dirty mopping pad by the end of its run. One solution would be to have it scheduled to clean only 1 or 2 rooms a day, and then to change the mopping pad every morning. A solution that's only possible thanks to the advanced software on the M6. In summary though, my recommendation is mostly for the cheaper Braava Jet 240. I know it's more simple and it doesn't have all the cool navigational features, and you do need to manually place it in the room that you want to clean, but I think it's at least as good and possibly even better than the M6 with pure mopping ability. And sure, it's simple, but I think with these mopping bots, simple might have its advantages. Check the links for current prices to all these bots, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars before you leave. Thanks for watching.